Hey guys, Brox here, just bringing you a Brazen Warfare update as Madfinger Games had their big point 3 showcase today for the first time that they were showing actual gameplay, and boy, was it bad. Probably one of the worst showcases I've ever seen, and I know it comes off like I'm a huge Brazen Warfare hater, but it was atrocious in so many ways, and I wanted to talk about it because it just highlights the absolute mismanagement of this game, the complete lack of understanding of what the game is, that no one there knows what PvP is or the downsides of the current problems with PvP in Grey Zone Warfare, because as you'll see, they highlight the worst part of Grey Zone Warfare for a solid 40 minutes of the video. I can't even explain why no one there was just like, hey, we need to stop doing this so that we don't show the bad portions of our game. If you want the true TLDR, if you want to hang out and watch the whole video and listen to what I have to say and my feedback and watching this train wreck unfold that happened earlier, because I watched the full 2 hours and it was awful. All the way through, it was awful. And they flew out, I think it was like 5 different content creators. 3 of the 5 creators I've never even heard of in my entire life. Whoever they are, I don't even know. The 2 names that I do recognize are Operator Drewski. He has like a decent YouTube channel following, and Clean, who has a moderate following when it comes to FPSs and extraction games and the like on Twitch and on YouTube. And those 2 were the only 2 names that I actually recognized, which is already a telltale sign that they're not pulling enough interest to actually get any significant names like Landmark or Pistilli to come out and actually go to their studio to test the game. In which case, they flew out the only people they could that would actually go out to their studio and be there live in person. So they did manage to get 2 decent names. The other 3 people I've never heard of in my entire life. It's the same as their little anniversary video thing that they did because Grey Zone's been out for 1 year, and they had a bunch of people from Discord basically one line glaze the game, and none of those people are recognizable. Literally no one of relevance was in that video either. It's just some random people from Discord, which is just some levels of marketing sadness I can't explain either. This is the TLDR. At the end of the stream, the 5 content creators were asked by the content creator manager at Madfinger Games to say something about their experience within the 2 hour session that they had where they played the actual game live. And 4 of the 5 people said negative things about their experience. Clean was the only one who showed some level of professionalism and actually said, like, it's going in the right direction, which is still not even a really great positive thing. It's just like, it's getting better, which is, when you're paying content creators to come out to your studio and really help you push the marketing for something, you really don't want them to highlight the negative aspects of the game at the end of the 2 hour session while on a live showcase. It was bad. That's how bad it was. Now that's the TLDR. So let's talk about the actual things that happened in this 2 hour gaming session and really go through how no one there from a marketing standpoint really thought any of this through. We start off, the stream actually starts, I'm going to play it in the background. They start off by introducing the team, the creator relations manager, this comms director, and then the CEO, and then the lead community manager. You'll notice that no one from the development team or from the actual game design team is sitting on this sofa. So no one who is actually doing any of the actual creation of the game is going to talk during this session. It's just a bunch of random marketing guys. And they still fumbled this bag because, and I get it, English is second language in most parts of the world and they're not from the United States, but they said some pretty awful words and they caught themselves, well, a couple of the English speaking guys caught themselves and was just like, we can't say that on live stream. So they probably need to work on making sure they don't say really heinous shit while live. Granted, there was maybe, I think, 2,000 people watching at the peak of this. There's, again, Grey Zone Warfare really doesn't have a following right now. It's the bottom of the barrel when it comes to extraction shooters. The fact that they really can't even convey the message, they have no one from the actual game design team here to convey the message or the direction of the game, which goes back to my last video. If you watch my last video, I was talking about how there is no game direction. The game direction for this game is just god awful, and there's no one there who understands what this game could be or where to actually make a game of this game. They just keep adding technical features, which is not gameplay features. They don't understand that a game still has to be a game for it to function. And that's causing a lot of discourse with the player base because there's no actual game. It's just kind of like, hey, we added really cool rain effects. We added nighttime. We added a couple extra locations so you guys can go there and find no loot. And it's the same AI with the same gear you've always seen. There's nothing new. There's nothing interesting. These are just like mini hotspots, which again just goes to my point that the game design and the game direction of this game is just, it's struggling. It's struggling really, really bad. So they talk about what's coming. They rant for a while. They talk about the NDA leaks, which, whatever. There's not enough people that care about Gray Zone Warfare for that to even matter. They talk about the fact that they're still in a different build, so the build that we see isn't the actual final build that's just going to be releasing sometime probably in late June. If I had to guess, it's going to be late June, probably early July, somewhere in that window. And the discussion was really about like, hey, you know, we know you guys are waiting for it. We really want to show it to you. Let's kind of take a look at what this could be. Now, here's the big thing about this update. And again, you'll see it on the thumbnail of this video. This is the PvP update. So this is about PvP. It's supposed to be like, how are we going to get you guys into PvP combat? How are we going to make PvP combat interesting so that you actually want to go out there and find conflict with the other factions? And obviously with the new cop system, they wanted to show that off. So they do a little bit of an intro. They intro in the different content creators, and then we move on to the actual gameplay. And that's really kind of what I want to skip to and then talk to you guys about like what actually happened in this gameplay. So the gameplay starts okay, which is they show off the ton of extra new guns and weaponry that is coming in the 0.3 update, which is really good to see. More gun content, more equipment, more things to hunt, more things to loot, as long as they are lootable in the world and it's not just, you know, get a vendor to tier 3, things that you actually want to go out and find, things that may be at these cop locations or at these secret locations, or maybe the cops have special keys, but you can only get the keys from commanders at high tier areas, and then you bring them back to the cop and they unlock a special armory room that can get you a weapon, but maybe it's a one-use key so that you have to keep doing that cycle to get some of these cool new weapons like the SVD or the MCX or the new submachine gun that's shown off here. So it was cool to see that initially. It's also raining when the initial gameplay starts, and that shows off the weather effects that they wanted to show. Now, a couple negatives right from immediately that were pissing off a lot of the people in the chat was the frame rates were obviously not great due to obviously what is being added to the game. The frame rates have always already been struggling. And then 2, the scaling to get it onto stream. The bitrate for the streams were making everything look really grainy and really choppy, which really wasn't a great visual clarity for people in the actual chat. It wasn't like it was like a 1440p stream or a 4K stream. Everything kind of really looked grainy and kind of blurry and blurred out. You really didn't get the full effect of what this is actually going to look like in the game itself. Additionally, you'll notice that apparently they gave everybody a bunch of money to buy equipment, to buy gear, and kind of get set up, and apparently everybody in the game just loaded up on mortars because they all wanted to try the new mortar system. In my opinion, the mortar system needs to just be removed. That's going to be me just flat out after watching how the mortar system was abused and the different problems that come with the mortar system. I think the mortar system just needs to be removed or delayed until it's in a better state. It is really bad, and I'll get to that when we get to seeing it on the screen, because they show off what it looks like on the screen and it's just horrendous. The graphics for the mortar are terrible. If you look at something like the mortars in Squad, for instance, without the UE5 update, they look phenomenal. You look at it with the UE5 update and they look even better. Mind you, this is already in UE5, so you expect the mortars in this game to already be comparable to Squad's UE5 update mortar effects, and they're nowhere near, nor in sound design or in visual design. So that was a big thing. And they kept making this statement that we gave them $200,000. This will not be relative to normal gameplay, which I find fascinatingly weird, because if you've ever played Gray Zone Warfare, $200,000 is nothing, like literally nothing. I have done 0 tasks on my reset account, and I have $50,000 from just a couple quick loot runs. You can go do a couple quick loot runs in Fort Nerith or Tiger Bay or Midnight Sapphire and come back with 20 to 30,000 in lootable material, and that's not hard to do. You can do it in less than an hour. So I mean, in a handful of hours, you can have $200,000 if you want. So to claim like, oh, $200,000 is not going to be the norm where you can have 30 mortars in your bag is completely incorrect. That is something that is easily obtainable, especially if you're going to do tasks that give a ginormous amount of money. You can easily get, $1 million in this game fairly quickly and fairly easily. So to them making the statement to try to quell the issues that are going to come with mortars when we get there was largely about like, oh, we gave them $200,000, like that was a lot of money. It's not, which also makes me concerned that they don't even play their own game, because to claim that $200,000 is a lot of money in Grazen Warfare is just unbelievably a weird statement from the people who actually made the game, unless they're going to do an economy rebalance, which they have never talked about doing. They haven't talked about doing an economy rebalancing of how much things cost. So unless that is happening, I don't understand where the sentiment that $200,000 is a lot of money is coming from, because it really isn't. So that was one thing I found very odd. Now, when this session starts, as you can see on the screen here, they start attacking one of the cops. So they start moving up to one of the cop locations, and you're probably sitting here thinking to yourself, okay, this is the new thing. This is the highlight of the actual update. There's 38 of these things, and they're going to all be fleshed out, really cool locations. And they do show one that looks kind of interesting. It was like a 2-story little restaurant thing. But this first initial cop that they go to, it literally looks like 4 buildings just thrown out in the middle of the woods. It's very minor and very small. You'll see when they get to it. Like it looks like any other just in the middle of the farm kind of houses that you see in the game today. Nothing really looks interesting at this cop location, and it's guarded by basic AI. So there's nothing about these AI that is different or more complex, or this is it right here. So they move up, and it's just 4 little grass huts. And you can see some of the AI to the right and some of the AI directly in front of him. They're just shirtless AI. They're like any other normal shirtless AI that you find in the starter town. This isn't like a cool or new or really interesting kind of thing. It's just a really bland basic area with basic AI. So this was not a great start to showing off the cops. I think they should have started, again, if they had thought this through and really planned this out, the first cop that they should have hit probably should have been the restaurant cop, because that one has fortifications, it has walls, it has a guard tower, it has a 2-story restaurant. Really would have hit home these are kind of specialized locations, and not really shine your first light about, these cop locations as this just 2-building hut area that they went and they secured. So this is one of the complications. And for the next, I would say, while I think there was like 20 solid minutes, like we're at 40 minutes, by 45 minutes, if we jump ahead, we have seen no PvP. We are almost an hour into this session, this showcase of their PvP update. I'm doing air quotes so you guys don't see it, but I'm doing it, which is this is the restaurant location, by the way. We'll come back to this. I'm going to pause right here for a second. This is their PvP update. We're an hour into the showcase. So if anybody had given them an hour of their time, so think about like viewership retention, an hour of their time, they have done 0 PvP in an hour of the showcase. Okay, and it's only going to get worse once the PvP starts, by the way. But we haven't seen a single bit of PvP. We've seen some very basic AI killing, showing that the AI still isn't that complex, and we've seen a very basic cop, which is like not spectacular at all. We saw a little bit of the rain system, and it's now starting to get dark. And this was another massive mistake by Madfinger Games and their marketing team, which is they're going to play the rest of this session out in the dark. Now, I know they want to try to sell nighttime in like their night vision goggles, but from a viewership standpoint, because they want to go for realism, the night vision goggles are horrifically blurry and really in fighting in the dark already, again, because the game has so many issues with visibility and sight lines due to being in the woods, the viewership of it is just awful. You people die. You don't see any of the combat. They just keel over and they die. You can't see anybody even if they are within the night vision goggles, because the night vision goggles are so blurry that from the viewership side, you can't actually see the combat that is actually going on. There's maybe like 3 or 4 instances where you actually get to see the people die on the screen, like where the actual PvP combat is visible on the screen itself. And because there's 5 different content creators, they're trying to jump around to all of them to find the combat, which also does a lot of screen switching, which is really unfortunate for, again, viewership trying to follow the action and understand what's going on. Couple that with the fact that none of these guys have played this, like some of the bigger name guys haven't played this game in over a year, right? Like these are not content creators for Gray Zone Warfare. They're just paid people to come in and play the game. I think maybe one of the guys that I've never heard of is probably a Gray Zone Warfare content creator, who knows, but they're not used to who's on my team and who's not on my team. And in the nighttime, you can barely see the armbands that they've added to the game, which just added to the effect of the armbands aren't enough to actually tell who teammates were. And then with the nod system, as they talk about this when it happens, there's no visibility indicator that enhances the armbands within the night vision. So no one, literally once it goes dark, no one's able to tell who's friendly and who's not friendly without having the little mini map open pretty much 24/7, which again, the mini map takes up like 33% of your monitor screen, and it's horrible. In a PvP update, I don't want to have my mini map open, trying to fight and do combat because I can't tell who's friendly and who's not. That's what the whole armband thing was trying to solve, but it's not enough. And people are already giving feedback being like, the armbands aren't going to be enough. We need clear indicators. If you're going to keep factions in the game, there needs to be clear indicators of who is on my team and who is not on my team, or just make friendly fire not a thing, right? So just take friendly fire out of the game, make your friendlies immune so that you can actually just know that, okay, I've shot 30 times into this guy, he's not dying, he's probably on my team. So there's some real issues still around clarity of teammates. The minimap thing having to be open 24/7, as you're going to see in the gameplay footage that comes up, just is really terrible. But to get moving on the actual visible, so you guys have something to watch, this is the cop I was talking about. You'll see it's like a 3-story restaurant. There's fortifications on the bottom side that have like a little wall and a gate entrance that comes up, and it's on kind of a hill, so it has a little bit of an overlook. This was probably the most interesting place that they showed, and they actually had combat within. But right when the combat was starting to get interesting in this location, some marketing guy decided it was time to go to a different location and try to shuffle them away from this location, which was a massive mistake because it actually led to nothing besides them just going onto a flight path, and then they ended the stream. But the only decent content that happened this entire hour session happened at this cop location. But as you saw, not all cop locations are this well designed. So if this is one of the only well designed cop locations, they really need to go back and look at all the other cop locations and really think, how do we make them all as interesting as this place, as the restaurant? Maybe you have some that are underground tunnel systems or sewer systems, or something that's more interesting than just 4 grass huts in the middle of the woods, because that's not interesting at all. So this was one of the few interesting locations that they actually ended up showing in the showcase. We'll get to it too when they actually start PvPing here. This is also seems to be guarded by more armored guards than the bush one that had, shirtless guys. So as you'll see, for a while, they just fly around. And then, apparently they had no pre-communication about what not to do during this session, which is, again, just another a massive PR mistake. So the guy who was on the screen, who is the PR and comms director, did a horrific job at setting this up, because it should have been immediately told to everyone playing in this session to not have any combat whatsoever anywhere around an LZ. So everyone should move to a cop location, really show off the cop itself, really show off having combat with inside these combat outposts, and get as far away from LZs as possible. Don't go near them, don't talk about them, don't show them, don't spend time near them. Try to minimize helicopters 100% in a PvP update. So what do they actually do for a solid hour, for another solid hour, is they sat at this LZ and they LZ camped the devs as they were flying in. They spent the entire hour session just camping this LZ and PvPing at this LZ and highlighting the biggest problem in PvP combat in Gray Zone Warfare today. The thing that they're trying to fix with cops, they spent an hour highlighting in their showcase, where people are just landing from the helicopter and immediately trying to run into the woods and just getting mowed down by people that are camping the LZ. And it took them an hour for someone to be like, hey guys, we probably want to not do this on stream because it's horrible. It's just, so I'll see if I could jump ahead here and you can see what I'm talking about. So here's two guys who just landed on the helicopter, and they're just sitting in the woods waiting for them to become shootable, so they switch away from it because they don't really want to show that. And then here you'll see again, they switch back, and there's more dudes who just landed on the helicopter, and they're stuck in the middle of the field, and people are like, oh my god, this guy's immortal, but they don't realize that people who get off helicopters have a period of invulnerability, because again, if you're new to Grazing Warfare, you wouldn't know that LZ camping is a major issue in the game, and that it causes a lot of problems. So there's these huge issues around this, and then I also want to talk about these red circles when we get to it. We'll get to it a little later. These end up filling up the map completely. Same, these little icons here, so just to go over this really quick, these are mortar indicators, so how long until the mortar hits and the area that the mortar is going to hit. So you can see there's 2 on the screen. These big red circles are conflict zones, basically the radio operator telling your faction where PvP is happening. Now, here's the thing. I think these are horrific. I think everything on this screen is horrific. These indicators are terrible. They're automatic, and the radio message that come across with them is also automatic, and you don't have any control over them showing or not showing up. So when they go up, for everybody involved in this PvP conflict, if both sides, both factions, it's just a glaring message that says like, hey, I'm here. And in an extraction shooter, you want time to actually finish your PvP conflict, get the loot, and get out. You don't want to have to try to win a PvP conflict. And if you look at, like, for instance, Juliet 3 and Juliet 2, when this red circle immediately goes up, you're going to get people from both factions coming in from both sides before you can even qualify your kill and actually get the loot to extract with it. This is again, going back to, no one at this company seems to play PvP games. These are horrifically bad ideas because you're not allowing anybody to actually have emergent gameplay where they can actually come out ahead. These circles aren't necessary. They were never necessary. The point of PvP on a faction-based system would be your faction actually talking to each other. So, like, for instance, in Squad or in Arma Reforger, for instance, it's up to the player to publicize the zone that they're PvPing in. If they want to put down a PvP marker and they say, hey, there's a unit here, there's a faction here, there's people here, I've shot at someone here, there's actually markers that the individual player can choose to signify to the rest of their faction that there's PvP conflict in this location. Or they can choose not to, because let's say they just want to take the fight themselves, keep the loot for themselves, and they don't want anybody coming, then they can choose not to actually point out where the conflict is. Whereas in this current system, it's all automatic and you don't get that choice. You don't get that choice to be publicly known that you're in this area, and then you have to deal with the conflict of people just dropping in on you. Especially, let's say if you are from a different faction and you want to attack this cop and you get in a PvP conflict next to it, and you may win that PvP conflict. Well, now the entire enemy faction knows to spawn at this cop to stop you from being able to go up and actually take the cop yourself, and causing a bunch of issues for emergent gameplay, because now the game is basically ramming you in the backside. So it's just really bad game design from people who've never PvP'd, and with the cheating problem in Grazing Warfare, this is just 2 giant circles that says like, hey, if you're a cheater, you know, fly here and you're gonna get free loot. And until they handle the cheating problem, this is just like wall hacks for people who already have wall hacks, right? Like it's not necessary under any circumstance that these red circles are automatic and or need to exist. I don't think they've ever need to exist. It really just hurts everything about the game from a fundamental standpoint, from an extraction shooter standpoint. They're horrific and they should go. The mortars we'll get to in just a second, because you'll see. We'll get there. You'll see that the red circles are here. Jump ahead, and more camping. We got people in this looks like a different combat outpost that they're holding, so we'll jump ahead. They're waiting for PvP to come to them, which hasn't really happened. Nothing really happens. People are just scouting bushes. And now you have the helicopter. So you see this helicopter, right? You see it landing, and you see them camping the LZ. So you can see the helicopter, and he's just camping the LZ. This goes on forever. Like, look at this. This is what they highlighted for an hour of this showcase here, right? So he sets up, and then they just start LZ camping. And it's at this point that someone should have just been like, "Hey guys, we need to get away from the LZ, get away from this area. Don't like go to a comp, make it interesting, show off the cop system, show off the PvP at the cop system." Instead, we spend an hour. We're getting about an hour and 20 minutes into the stream, and we've still seen very little actual emergent combat. So actually that was a great view of the red circle issue. So when he pulls up the map here, see how the red circles start taking up a large portion of the zone? This is just, it just looks terrible too. And it's just so completely unnecessary because it's also sitting on top of an LZ, which just now screams there's camping at this LZ that's happening. And I don't think this needs to exist, and it should just be removed. Also, with the mortar system, which I'm going to play it for you when we get there, every time one of these red circles comes up, you get a global radio message that is extremely loud in your earphone. So if there's like ongoing combats within like a zone, so inside Fort Nerith or Tiger Bay or Midnight Sapphire, it is non-stop radio messages. Just extremely loud, non-stop radio messages, and all of the content creators were like, God, is there a way to turn this off? Like, can we please turn it down? I can't even hear the footsteps to actually have the PvP in the PvP update because the global radio messages from these stupid red circles and from the mortar system are endless. Just endless. And the stream was losing it. Like the viewership on the stream was losing it because they're like, God, this is terrible. From a viewer standpoint, it was even worse because it's just like a really terrible noise that just happens consistently and overlapping and was unbearable to watch. And they keep trying to show these like cinematic footages, but you'll see because of the frame rate, everything just looks terrible. It all looks low res, it all looks grainy, it all looks fuzzed out. The fog and the rain system has made everything kind of look just kind of gray. And then this is a great example of what I was talking about. So this guy got LZ camped, right? So he's also getting LZ camped at the LZ. None of this combat is actually happening at an actual combat outpost, and because we are not actually getting a decent angle of anything that's happening in this showcase, he just dies from nowhere. Right, so right here, boom, dead. This is the viewership problem of Gray Zone Warfare. None of that was interesting. There was no combat interest, that was interesting about that situation from a viewership standpoint. Guy just keeled over and died coming off of an LZ. And then here's another person running from, the helicopter, hoping not to get shot from someone camping the LZ. And this is the mainline thing that they're showing so far for an hour and 20 minutes is people flying around on helicopters and getting LZ camped or LZ camping themselves, which is the biggest problem in Gray Zone Warfare today. So we've spent too much time showing all the problems with Gray Zone Warfare and no time showing positives about Gray Zone Warfare. And then by the time we start actually showing positives about Gray Zone Warfare, nighttime hits and everything just goes to shit. Like everything gets so much worse. We're going to jump ahead, show you some actual like PvP because might as well show you some real PvP. So this guy just finds a guy in a bush. He's looking for any other people in bushes. Sees another guy, and then I think he gets mortared. Oh, he shot his teammate. His teammate and him shot each other because you can't tell the armbands from any sizable distance. So they're about 75 meters away from each other. Couldn't tell that they obviously were wearing armbands because the armbands are so ridiculously small that they just shot each other in return because the armband system, it just isn't even remotely enough to discern who's on your team and who's not on your team. Again, if you look at something like Squad fixes this by everyone having specified uniforms, and I get that people are like, PMCs don't have unified uniforms even if they're on the same faction. It's like, bro, it's a video game. Like, you have to understand there still has to be a game element to the video game that makes the game function. You cannot just have no semblance of actual gameplay balance in your game, otherwise you just get a bad experience. You don't get a real experience. Again, if you remove the faction system, fuck it, it's free for all because everyone's their own PMC, which is what I think they should do. But if you're going to have factions, you need to have some discernible way to be like, hey, we're on the same faction. If you're already going to semblance that you're all wearing signified same armbands, then you can also just wear the same shirt or the same pants or, something that symbolizes that you guys are on the same faction side. I mean, if you're already going to give people armbands, just give them unified uniforms. We're past the point of this. This should not be a problem this far into Grey Zone Warfare, especially on a PvP update. We really just need to solve the team killing problem and the team identification problem so that we don't have to have a mini map that's 33% of our screen up 24/7 just to identify players. They're just moving around through bushes. This guy is shooting the ground. This is the showcase they want to show. So more people landing at LZs, more people getting shot at LZs because there's just showing, yeah, so here, another great example. We're now an hour and 20 minutes in, and we're still showing people LZ camping spawns as the only means of actual PvP combat, which it's just, again, highlighting the problems with Grey Zone Warfare. The LZs just need to go. We're past the point that they need to exist. Everything should just work through the COP system. Spawning should just work through the COP system. And you should have to move out of your starting fob, go to your starting town, expand through the COP system to start taking over map area rather than using the LZs. The LZ system should just be shredded at this point. It just needs to go. You have now highlighted LZ camping in your .3 PvP showcase for an hour and 20 minutes as the primary method to PvP in this game. It is horrendous. This was an atrocious mistake. It's just really bad. I'm going to turn on sound so you can hear this. And about halfway through this stream, it starts getting dark, okay? So now we switch to this being the rest of the stream. So this is what the next 30 minutes. The rest of this stream is 30 minutes of looking through these goggles and not being able to see literally anything from any retrospect. Now, here's the funny part. They want to show that this is in the game, that you need these goggles. You don't need these goggles. You literally shouldn't even ever put them on. You can just change your contrast settings to make the map as bright as you want it to be in nighttime so that you don't have to look through these goggles and have everything be just a blurry white mess. Like, see, when he takes off the goggles, he still has decent visibility, but they've intentionally raised the contrast to be super dark so that the goggles are necessary, but that's not actually needed in the game itself, and no one does this. I don't think I've ever seen anybody using night vision goggles. Okay, I think we have probably a good soundbite here, so I'm going to go back so you guys can hear this.
Be advised, heavy ordnance inbound. ETA, 30 seconds.
All the mortars ahead of you.
Who's who? Use you.
All units,
Got it. I'm pulling back.
30 seconds to impact. Heads up, high explosive inbound. ETA, 30 seconds.
God, I'm so hurt. Jesus Christ.
Heavy ordnance inbound. 30 seconds to impact.
West side.
East side, east side, east side.
Please don't shoot me. I'm down there.
That was a great example of the explosion that you get from the mortars in this game compared to squad. If you look at squad's mortar explosions compared to what you just witnessed there, it's like worlds different.
Mortaring the position that shot at me.
The mortars are going up now. I got him again. Oh, I didn't get him.
Coming up behind you, Clean.
Wait, what? I'm so confused. What happened?
Are you alive, Clean?
So you see how, like, they're in the middle of conflict and the radio announcer is just constantly going off talking to them like, oh, you're shooting friendlies, oh, you have conflict over here, oh, there's a mortar that's over here. This happened the entire stream. You couldn't actually hear footsteps or where shots were coming from over the announcer just constantly talking through the entire session, which also, you know, just hindsight, if someone had play tested this for 15 minutes before putting this together, they would have known to turn the announcer off to make more immersive gameplay for everybody else. It was just really, really, really bad. We then have this problem here. So you see, I think this is Rilo's perspective. Rilo comes up on this guy, but because he's looking through his night vision goggles, he can't actually tell if this is a friendly or an enemy player because, again, there's no discernible uniforms, there's no discernible helmets. The only thing is the armband, but he can't see the arm, and even if he could see the arm, he can't see the color of the armband. And so he walks up on this guy and gets immediately one-tapped because that actually wasn't a friendly, that was a enemy. And he should have been shooting him, but because he walked around, he got shot in return for not paying attention to who's friendly and who's not friendly, which is another issue with the night vision. Now, another thing with nighttime that they were talking about being an issue that wasn't really thought through or thought out is the scopes don't have illumination. So in nighttime, even when you use the night vision goggles or just standard iron sights or looking down scope, you can't actually have an illuminated scope to see where the actual scope outline is, which makes it incredibly hard to see. Now, again, I just raised my contrast in game, so that's not a problem for me, but from a showcase standpoint, it was terrible. And from a viewership standpoint, also terrible. It just again, not really highlighting the best aspects of this game. So then they are in this conflict. I think it happens like right here where they get told, let me see, they get told to leave the PvP combat. And I'm not even joking. This is the first time in an hour and a half that they're actually having meaningful PvP near a cop, showing off the actual purpose of the showcase. And somebody thought it was a great time to tell them to stop what they're doing and go to a different location.
7 mags is my actual question.
Dropped one.
They ran it.
Shoot it if it's not directly southeast of you, okay?
We've got hostile
Got it.
contact. A rival PMC has been spotted.
All right, boys, we do have a new mission. We need to exfil to Bravo 2, and then we are going to go and take Titan, because Crimson has taken Titan.
Okay.
Be
Got it.
advised, heavy movement inbound.
Killed
30
one.
seconds to
Right next to
impact.
you.
All right, so let's
On me,
let's
on me, on me,
double time
on
it.
me.
Check flashlights. They're like IR flashlights are flying around or something. Sorry.
All right, disengage, go to Bravo 2, LZ.
So this happens, right? And it's the first time you could tell every one of the content creators is now actually in it. Like, they're into the PvP. They've gotten themselves into a conflict situation. They're in the woods. They're actually now showing off real PvP. They're actually going back and forth and trying to protect this cop and showing the actual point of this update. And then someone was just like, hey, we should go back onto the helicopters and go to this different location and not continue to show off the PvP of the PvP update. Guys, I can't tell you. I just wanted to be like, guys, what are you doing? You fire everyone on the marketing team. Just literally everyone. The PR comms guy, the content creator guy, the community manager guy, everyone that is involved in this showcase should be immediately fired. They don't know what they're doing, because this was the worst showcase I think I've ever seen for a game trying to rehype their game of all time. In 40 years of playing games and watching games try to, showcase the benefits of their games, this is hands down one of the worst showcases I have ever seen. Ever. Period. Everybody involved with this showcase should be fired, because they're doing a horrendous job at doing it. They don't know how to show off the game. They don't know how to show off what the game actually is. They didn't plan to actually have this in the daytime so that viewership could actually understand what the hell is happening. Where, again, we're looking at whatever this is, you basically can't see anything. Everything is a washed out white color or gray color, and you can't tell who's friendly, you can't tell who's not friendly. We're not showing any of the cop locations. We're not showing the diversity of the cop locations. We spent an hour and 20 minutes fighting on LZs, which is the current main issue of the game, and the PvP issues of the game. The LZs still exist, which is another major issue of the game. We're giving hackers wall hacks and map hacks for no apparent reason. We have a radio communication guy who won't stop talking and being in your ears when you're trying to actually have meaningful PvP and hear footsteps and sound. We're fighting in the woods, which is, again, just a terrible example of what PvP should be, rather than fighting on a POI of interest. Again, fighting inside of the actual cop location that looks cool and it's actually a meaningful part of this update.
Do you have painkillers by chance, Rilo?
It's just like, I, as like the biggest critic of this game, can tell you I could do a better job at this. I could take the problems with Gray Zone Warfare and at least put a showcase together that highlights the good parts of Gray Zone Warfare. So they go on, they try to go back to the LZ, and then when they get to the LZ, of course, all they're going to do is do more LZ camping. So when they get there, we'll jump ahead. Oh, this was hilarious. So another thing about the game that people have had problems with is that pistols just don't do anything, especially when you get to endgame, because tier 3 armor or tier 3 plus armor, it just makes pistol bullets do absolutely nothing. So why not have that highly showcased and no one decide to switch away from this who is manning the actual marketing feed? So we're going to show off how bad pistols actually are in the game.
Well, you avenged me, so you did well.
In the road.
Hey.
So right here,
Yo, ow, that is so bright. Jesus Christ.
I need to find my body, dude.
this is a
Yeah,
bot,
just
by
letting
the
you know,
way.
we
This
have
isn't a
last
real
10
player.
minutes of the event.
Copy, copy.
Got it.
This is going to be your last stand.
Multiple
I have the
magazines.
enemy's body, if that helps.
Oh,
Oh,
find it. Can't
Wait,
let
it's
aggress-
not friendly. Okay.
Nope. So we're gonna go back.
Those loud shots is not any of you,
That's
right?
me. I'm shooting
That's you?
an AI.
Copy.
Yep.
Go back.
Gotcha, gotcha.
You're across the screen.
Okay, that was magazine number
Trying.
3.
They got me.
And
There.
here,
Just out.
watch how this goes when he's using a pistol.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
smart. Oh, it's helmet,
He's literally standing next to the guy shooting him in the head. Watch this.
We're under attack.
Get him!
Die.
Yeah, let's go.
That's what it took to kill this guy with a pistol. 2 people with pistols spamming him.
We're under attack.
Get him!
Die.
Yeah, let's go. Run, we're getting shot.
Oh, okay. I just lit one of you guys up. Sorry.
Yo,
That was
clean.
probably, by the way, the most clear example of PvP in the entire showcase. Was those 2 guys shooting that guy where everybody was visible, but it was still washed out because of the night
That was
vision
awesome.
goggles.
Oh, I'm dead.
They do some more PvP at some of the LZs. See, again, we're going to show off, camping LZs. So guy gets off the helicopter, has immunity for 5 seconds, just gets to stand there while everybody shoots him. Then when the 5 seconds wears off, he just instantly dies. Again, this is how we're ending the showcase, by the way. This is the end of the showcase. Everything ends after this. So the end of the showcase. So we started the showcase off with LZ camping, which is a major issue in Grey Zone Warfare, and we're going to end the showcase with LZ camping, which is a major issue with Grey Zone Warfare. We should have ended at a cop. We should have ended at some cool location. We should have ended at some, place where there was some cool loot. Something like some guy finds a key and he opens a door at a cop location and there's like a golden SVD or something that's like giga-kitted out. Who put this together? Honestly, how bad at your job do you have to be at your job to put this showcase together? This was god awful. So let's actually hear what the content creators had to say about their experience, that they were paid to fly out and experience this game at this studio. Okay, so I want you to hear from the content creators, not from me, from the content creators, how this went for them.
While we are flying back to base, I'd like to ask you one by one what you felt, how did you like the 0.3 wins of war? We'll start with Rilo. Mr. Rilo, what did you think of the your first time in it?
Oh, I really, really liked the guy that calls out the mortars. I think that you need to increase the volume of it just a little bit.
That is well noted, and I will pass that on to my boss.
So, first guy makes a sarcastic comment about the radio announcer that would not stop talking and the loudness of the radio announcer. No positive comments about his experience.
It needs to be 120 decibels easily. All right, now, Mr. Drewski, what did you think of the preview?
It simulated just how hard it is to see at night, even with night vision, pretty dang well. Like trying to PID when you cannot see colors because you have all blue or all gray night vision. Yeah, pretty much just like real life. You can't see shit.
So, second comment, no positives about the actual PvP experience of the game, just that you have no visual clarity if you use the night vision goggles, and everything looks like shit because you're fighting in the dark and in the woods, and you can't make any PIDs or clarifications, so everything just feels like shit. So, the second comment is the NVDs are realistic, but the actual experience of using them is shit. So we have yet had one single positive statement outside of the night vision goggles are realistic. Okay, let's keep going.
Right, Mr. Nice Guy, what did you think of it, man?
So I understand there was a lot of chaos. That you need to turn the mortar guy down for sure. But I killed a lot of people. I actually killed a lot of people with the NVGs on, and it genuinely was actually a lot of fun just trying to figure out who's friendly, who wasn't, with like the super realistic night vision. So I hope the stream caught my POV at some point because it actually was really cool. It genuinely actually was really cool. So, all right.
So this guy, again, goes back talking about the radio announcer as a major negative, which I think everybody at this point knows, the stream chat knows. But he goes back to talking about night vision and the inability to actually have any clarity or gameplay clarity. But he was having fun with it because it made everything a little bit more chaotic. However, again, in real gameplay, not this simulated environment, no one uses night vision. outside of like PvE players who want to immerse themselves in the PvE side of the game. In PvP, all you have to do is just go into your contrast settings, set that sucker to like 25 to 50, and you don't need night vision goggles. The entire game lights up like the freaking sun. I've showed it off in one of my prior videos. You just change the contrast and nighttime goes away. You don't need them. They are horrible for clarity and for visualization. Unless you just want to do it for the immersive side of it, you're going to lose a lot of PvP fights because no one uses it and everyone has perfect visible clarity just by messing with their contrast settings. So this is just some marketing fluff. No one actually uses these outside of PvE players who want to immerse themselves in their PvE experience. Okay, next.
It was fun.
All right, Mr. Good Boys, what did you think of it?
Yeah, I agree. It was super, super chaotic, but it made it all the more fun, especially at night. And I love seeing all the PvP, honestly.
So he adds that he just had fun with it being chaotic and nighttime, but that there wasn't any actual positive nature to, let's try. The gun mechanics feel a lot better. The optimization feels smooth. I was getting decent frame rates. The cops looked pretty great and were well thought out. There was some interesting loot to go gather and extract with. The gun options have greatly increased. The cool things that I could equip to my gun that added, to the ability for me to shoot better or play better, or, suppressors or lights or flashlights or lasers. None of that. No one has talked about like the actual benefits of what is coming in 0.3 so far, just that it's been a chaotic mess and the announcer was very loud. Okay, so let's hear Clean, who actually gives a professional answer.
Awesome. Mr. Clean over there in front of me. What did you think of Winds of War?
I like it, man. It's really kind of taking Gray Zone to the next level, and it's really giving people, I think, that PvP like gameplay loop that they've been looking for. It obviously still needs some work, and it's the first iteration for things, but overall, I think the first impression is good.
Awesome, guys. Awesome.
And that was it. So then they go on to talk about going to get some beers, and then they ended stream. So if I jump ahead here a couple seconds, boom. Stream ends. So they talk about going get beers, stream ends, and then whoever again is running their marketing department left the stream on for another hour for no reason. So the stream just sit blank for another hour, and they didn't edit this out already on YouTube, so they just added an extra hour of nothingness. Clean's answer also doesn't really highlight any of the positives about Gray Zone Warfare. It doesn't talk about how things felt, how the PvP felt, how the gunplay felt. Here's another thing that they didn't talk about or showcase at all in this is the supposed body drag system, so that you can pull your compatriots out of harm's way. None of that was showcased, so they never showed anybody actually dragging out a PMC or saving someone's life by using the drag feature. I don't even know if it was in this build. They didn't talk about it, they didn't highlight it, they didn't bring it up, and they rarely sat down to spend some time to showcase what guns they were using and actually talking about like, hey, I'm going to be using the SVD, this is what I have it kitted out with, really highlighting the new weapons. No one really took the time to actually say, hey, I'm going to use the all these different things that are available to us. Just a lot of LZ camping, and then the 20 or so minutes where they spent at the restaurant location doing actual PvP for a very short period of time where it actually felt realistic.
Take cover.
Okay.
Here's another good example of the
Okay.
announcing.
Where should I respond? Spielberg or where?
Yeah, just Spielberg, I
Okay.
guess.
Okay.
All units, incoming HE, ETA 30 seconds.
Oh shit, this was a combat zone. There might be enemies here. Clean, watch it.
High explosive
Yeah.
inbound.
Take cover. I'm mortaring the hell out of that position right now.
To end this video, essentially, I just want to point out that this is the most mismanaged project I've ever seen. Gray Zone has the capability to be something special because the gunplay is so good. The mechanics to how guns work, the aim down sight speed, the TTK, how weapons interact with people when you're actually in real conflict, like in YBL or in Fort Nerith. All of that is S tier. I know I don't really give Gray Zone a lot of positives, but the reality of the situation is this has some of the best gunplay in gaming right now. Without question, it's extremely, extremely good. It is surrounded by a dev team and a game designer who have no idea what they're doing. Like, this showcase was just a horrendous example of someone over there who doesn't know how to market this game, doesn't know what this game is, doesn't know what this game could be, doesn't know the faults of their own game, doesn't know how to highlight the actual benefits and features of what is to come, doesn't know how to actually make people excited to play the game. And if the content creators that you're pulling out and paying to come visit the studio to actually, publicize the game can't even leave by giving the game like a proper positive discussion about like the things that are actually improving in the game, then you've wasted money on everything involved with this showcase. I think the stream peaked at like 3,000 concurrent viewers, I think was the most, and large portion of that is probably just Clean's community, but I don't even think a large portion of Clean's community stayed around to actually care, because again, Graves and Warfare isn't really taken that seriously, because they don't know how to make this a game. And I'll keep saying it until someone there gets it, until it clicks, until someone actually like understands that they have something special if they actually utilize it correctly. Get rid of the faction system, get rid of the LZs, and just make it an immersive world. You have a bunch of interesting POIs now that people can go take over. Make it so that killing commanders at different major POIs gives specialized one-time use keys that can be used at the cop locations, and then have, that's where Giga Loot is obtained, so that it rotates. It's not like is stagnant. It's not like if you get the key to Heavenly Vista, you guaranteed to get a gold SVD, though you could have some static loot, but you could make it all dynamic where all the top tier guns rotate between the cops, and then if you get a specialized key from one of the commanders, it's a one-time use, and you can then have to go PvP and take over the cop to get access to that cop's armory, and then that cop's armory gives you that specialized loot, so that you feel like there's an actual gameplay loop, that there's I need to go take down this POI, I need to kill the commander there, I get a specialized key, I go take down the cop, I get the gear, I extract it back to my stash, and that becomes an interesting loop where you just spent 2 hours of everybody's life showing off the absolute worst portions of Brazen Warfare. The night vision goggles, the lack of clarity, the lack of visibility in PvP, how unwatchable it is from a viewership standpoint for content creators, LZ camping, at nighttime PvP rather than daytime, so everything is clear and people can actually get into it and feel like they're actually visibly involved with what's actually happening for a PvP update. It's just so terribly mismanaged, and I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed that this was what they put together. I'm embarrassed that none of their content creators could even come up with decent positives for the game. I'm embarrassed that the marketing team is so shit. I'm embarrassed that their whole team, they couldn't even bring a developer or an actual game designer on to talk about the cool things that they've put into the game and why they're cool on the sofa set. None of this was structured, clearly. None of it was talked about beforehand about things to do's and don'ts. God, it was bad. It's so bad. And the problem is it could be such a good game. This could be an extremely good video game, and it is just ran by aimless, lost people, and it's unfortunate. Alright guys, I'm out. This was a depressing day of watching just dog shit gameplay that undersold and undervalued what this game actually is from the people that make it. I'm out.